Hello, Wonderhussy here on a blistering hot day in late September in an absolutely beautiful part of California. Headed to check out a memorial of this dude. What? You don't recognize him from this angle? Okay, let me go around and show you what he looks like from the front. Even though that means the sun is going to be directly behind him. Well, you can probably see from the giant letters there in front of us that his last name was Marshall, and his first name was James, and his middle initial was W. James W. Marshall. You still don't know who that is? Why, he's only one of the most important people in U.S. history, California history certainly. This guy right here. Well, you might be able to figure it out from the clues there on the pedestal he's standing on. Look at that, I'll zoom in. It's a shovel and a pickaxe and a rifle and a pan. And then there's the number 48. What could all of this mean, you might be asking yourself? Is this some kind of secret Freemason type situation? Well, no, this is a guy that just about every school kid who went to school in California probably learned about in about 4th or 5th grade. James Marshall was the guy who discovered gold for the first time in California. That's right, somewhere in these beautiful rolling golden hills, there was gold in them there hills. And this guy, James Marshall, apparently he was working at a sawmill owned by a guy named John Sutter. Now you might have heard of John Sutter. He kind of, well, he doesn't get the credit, but he's more known. His name is more well known when it comes to the discovery of gold because it happened at his mill, Sutter's Mill. Okay, I guess this dude, John Sutter, I think he was Swiss. He was a Swiss immigrant, and he had a mill out here somewhere because there's lots and lots of trees, as you can probably see from that hillside behind me. It's very thickly forested, and back in 1848, I guess John Sutter came all the way to California from Switzerland, and I'm not sure why. Now, if you think about it, it makes sense why most people come to California nowadays, or why they did 100 years ago, but way back before gold was discovered, there wasn't that many people living here, okay? I think I read online that there was only something like 160,000 people in the entire state of California, and that included all the Native Americans. That's not even the size of a small California city. These days, I think the population of California nowadays is, oh my gosh, probably somewhere around 50 million. But back before 1848, it was a much different place. You know, you can see these houses dotting the hillside there. They're probably multi-million-dollar homes. Well, none of that would have been here. It would have just been these gorgeous, undulating, golden brown hills dotted with oak trees, you know, some patches of forest, just gorgeous vegetation as far as the eye could see. Until, dun, 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 one day, right around here at Sutter's Mill, this guy, James Marshall, was working as a carpenter, and I guess he noticed in the stream of water, I don't know, don't they float logs down a thing at a sawmill? For that matter, aren't those log rides that you go on at like Disneyland, aren't those based on sawmills? Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, there was some kind of stream of water that this carpenter was bent over, and he noticed there were little flakes of gold in it. Oh my gosh, you know, prior to that, only 160,000 people living in California. There wasn't much going on. It was just, I guess, agriculture. And then, you know, John Sutter decided to come out here and build a sawmill. Toward what end, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say maybe, you know, San Francisco needed wood to build stuff, but San Francisco wasn't even a very big city until the discovery of gold. So I don't know why or what brought John Sutter to this part of the world and why he decided to start a sawmill, but he did. And he hired this dude, James Marshall. And one day, James Marshall found gold flakes in the stream. And that changed everything. Let me see if I can zoom in on him. He's totally backlit, so you can't really see his face. I think he's holding out a gold nugget in his one hand. Well, actually, he might be holding gold in both hands. Double fisting it, you might say. I'm sure he did have plenty of gold to fill both hands and both pockets and, well, probably his glove box too. Except for they didn't have cars back then. Well, anyway, he found these flakes of gold, and so the first thing he did was tell the owner of the mill, John Sutter, hey, look what I found in the water. And they both agreed to shh, keep it quiet, because they knew that if word got out that there was gold in them there hills, and there's probably gold in them there hills, and them there hills, and all them there hills, all around the whole area, why then this entire peaceful bucolic area would be overrun with fortune seekers. And so they drew up some kind of agreement to where they would keep it a secret and they would split everything they found, and they were going to start some kind of mining operation. Well, guess what? Somehow word got out, and well, the rest is history. Every able-bodied man around the world came to California in 1848, really 1849 is when it kicked into high gear. You know, that's why they call them the 49ers. And I think the peak year of the gold rush was considered to be 1852. People were still pouring into California to get rich quick. They wanted to get some of that sweet, sweet gold for themselves. Because originally it was that easy. All you had to do was placer mine. You just needed a pan like he's got up there on the little shield there. You just needed a pan, and then find yourself a creek and start scooping. And boy, sometimes you could find giant gold nuggets just floating in the water. It was that easy. Now, unfortunately, the easy pickings didn't last forever, and before you know it, they had to resort to quartz mining, which is when they have to blast into the hillsides and gouge out ore and soak it in cyanide baths and crush it with stamp mills and go to all kinds of exhausting lengths to get out the gold. But back in these early days, when Jimmy Marshall here was just a-sitting there rolling his logs down this flume, why, back then, it was as easy as just reaching into the water and picking it up for yourself. Now, I don't know that this monument is standing at the exact spot where James Marshall discovered gold. I mean, there are a few historical signs here, but, you know, there's not much of a fuss. You think they'd make a bigger fuss about the exact spot where gold was discovered, because it did change the economy of not just California, but the entire United States and probably even the world. I mean, if you think of how many people emigrated to the U.S. to try and get rich in the California gold fields, I mean, it's why we have so many Italians, Irish, Serbians, Spanish. I mean, people came from every country to try and seek their fortune in California. And so there is actually a big historical park somewhere right around here that does, I think, have a marker at the site where he first discovered gold. So I'm going to get back in my car and turn on the air conditioning and see if I can try to find the exact spot where gold was first discovered in the great state of California. Okay, this is weird. I mean, I guess this whole area we're in is a state historic park dedicated to the discovery of gold here, but it seems like everything's closed. You know, like we drove past all those old-timey little fake storefronts, like ice cream shops. There was nobody there. They all look closed to me. I'm guessing it's because, well, it's hotter than blazes today. It's after Labor Day. It's late in the day. I guess there's just nobody else here right now, which is friggin' awesome. Anyway, it says that the park closes at 6 p.m. So if I'm going to find this original site where gold was discovered, well, I guess I'd better get a move on. You know, it's already 4:45 and I want to get my $10 worth. That's right, they charge $10 to come here and see the place where gold was first discovered, and apparently it's still paying out to this day. Anyway, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I only have an hour and 15 minutes to figure it out. So we are here. Looks like we can take this gold discovery loop trail that will take us to the actual site of Sutter's Mill. and then the place where gold was actually discovered. And as a bonus, we can see a replica of Sutter's Mill, which is always fun to see what it would have looked like back in its heyday. Okay, we have no time to waste. Let's go. Okay, the first thing we see here is a monument plaque to the Coloma Road. Okay, the name of the town we're in is Coloma. Kind of like a colomoscopy, only a little bit different. I guess it's named that after the Coloma Indians. In the grandest tradition of the white man butchering Native American words, they named it Coloma. And so here we are, where the gold rush started. So I guess if you're here when the park is open, you can actually pan for gold. Oh, look, here's a quote. "It made my heart thump, for I was certain it was gold." I mean, no kidding. Can you put yourself in that dude's shoes for just a minute? I mean, you're some carpenter working in this sawmill in the middle of nowhere, which I don't need to remind you, California was the very definition of the middle of nowhere back in 1848. It didn't mean anything to anyone. There were no swimming pools, there were no movie stars, nothing like that. So you're just some poor busted carpenter, you know, floating your log, and then dun dun dun, you see gold floating in the water. Woo-wee, your heart would definitely start thumping. Anyway, what's this? Oh, is this a picture of him? I guess so. I guess that's supposed to be John Sutter and James Marshall. How about that? I mean, this is just a pencil drawing, but I guess that's sort of what they must have looked like in real life. I'm guessing that's John Sutter because he was the boss, you know, wearing that fancy uniform. And there's his carpenter, his lowly carpenter. Well, according to this sign, it says that John Sutter, John Augustus Sutter, or Sutter, actually came here from Germany. I thought he was Swiss, but it says he left Germany for the U.S. in 1934. And after several years in the Midwest, he ended up here in the Sacramento Valley in 1839. A year later, he received a 48,000-acre land grant from the Mexican government. Okay, back in those days, this was all part of Mexico. Remember, Mexico claimed California, and it was only thanks to the treaty, the Hidalgo Treaty, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, I think, that Mexico gave it to the United States. Anyway, this dude Sutter somehow got a 48,000-acre land grant from the Mexicans and began creating a small empire near the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers. He needed lumber to expand his fort and a partner to help build a sawmill, so he joined forces with James Marshall, a carpenter from New Jersey. New Jersey! How about that? I did not expect that. You never know where these Jersey dudes are going to show up. Anyway, it says they had almost finished building the sawmill when he found gold in the tail race. And then it says, ironically, the discovery that enriched so many brought ruin to its key figures. Both Marshall and Sutter died in near poverty. Boy, how's that for irony, man? You discover gold and you die in poverty. I wonder what happened. I mean, like I said, they tried to keep it a secret and then everybody found out about it and, well, maybe they got claim jumped. Maybe somebody came and stole this claim. I don't think that's the case, though, because it's still called Sutter's Mill to this day, so I'm not really sure, but hey, check this out. We're coming up on the shores of some river, so I'm guessing this must be either the American or the Sacramento. And I'm ashamed to say I don't know which one, but look, here is the site of the original Sutter Mill. This is where the sawmill was that John Sutter and James Marshall from Jersey were building their mill, which is very interesting, but not quite as interesting as the fact that there's a river full of ice cold water right over there, and it is so freaking hot today. I think it's like 97 degrees up here. I have to at least dip my toes in the holy waters where gold was first discovered in California. Should we do it? Should we dip our toes? Let's do it. Climb down. Be careful, y'all. There's rattlesnakes up here. We got to be careful where we step. Rattlesnakes like water too. Down here onto the bank of this beautiful river. And you know what? I better look it up and see what river we're standing at the banks of. Aha! The American River. The South Fork of the American River, to be precise. And I'm ashamed I didn't remember that. I mean, it's one of those historical facts that everybody knows. Gold was discovered in 1848 on the American River. I went to school in California. How did I not know that? Duh. Anyway, this is it. This is the place where this mill was being built. And again, there wouldn't have been any development. None of these little houses you see poking through the trees, which, by the way, how badass would it be to live here at the very place where gold was first discovered? Woo-wee. But it's a beautiful river. Look at that. It looks so clear and inviting. And oh gosh, what if we found some gold here today? Wouldn't that be something? What if I looked down and all of a sudden there was this giant gold nugget just sitting there? You know, there was a big winter here a couple years ago. It was like the most snowfall they've had in I don't know how many years. And so there was a lot of snow melt after that winter, and it did. It washed up a lot of new gold all over the place. All these creeks and rivers here, people were out here panning for gold and finding it. So what if I was so lucky as to stumble on a giant golf ball sized nugget laying right here in the gravel at the side of the South Fork of the American River? Wouldn't that be something? Well, I can tell you one thing. I wouldn't say a damn thing about it on YouTube. I wouldn't want the Park Service to know I found it on state property, because then they wouldn't let me keep it. So maybe I did just find a gold nugget, and maybe I didn't. Anyway, like I said, I want to dip my feet in these magical waters that once held, maybe still held gold. Woo, yeah, they are cold. This is pure snowmelt coming from the top of the Sierra Nevada mountains, which are that way. These are like the foothills of the Sierra. If you keep driving that way, you go up towards Lake Tahoe. Okay, just to put this in perspective, if you've ever driven from San Francisco to Lake Tahoe, you take US 50, the loneliest road in America. Now that I think about it, I did a bunch of videos on the loneliest road in America, which is US Highway 50, the portion of it that runs through the state of Nevada. But it didn't occur to me, you know, I just did the portion in Nevada from Carson City to Baker, Utah, Delta, Utah, Baker, Utah. Anyway, it didn't occur to me that, yeah, US 50 actually goes farther west into California, right past the site where gold was discovered. How about that? Nothing lonely about gold. Woo-wee, you find gold, you'll have plenty of friends. You'll never be lonely again. I mean, just ask John Sutter and James Marshall. You know, I'm sure they had all the friends they could ever want, and more than that. And in fact, they probably had all the ladies they could ever ask for. I mean, I was reading up on women in the gold rush, and there weren't very many women. It was a sausage fest, to put it bluntly. There's all these dudes that came west seeking their fortune. Well, at that time, women weren't exactly free to, you know, pack up their bags and just run off to the hills and start digging for gold. So it was basically all dudes. And then, you know, a few enterprising women decided to go west and become prostitutes, you know, because they knew they could make a ton of money off all these dudes way out here. I mean, stop and think about it for a minute. If you lived in Jersey, like Jim Marshall over here, Jersey Jim, and you came all the way to California, it was a big, big journey, and you were like on a different planet from the United States, okay? The United States ended, oh gosh, in 1848. I think the United States ended somewhere back around Nebraska-ish. Don't quote me on it. But in between Independence, Missouri and San Francisco, there was nothing. It was just wilderness. And so, you know, all those pioneers loaded up their wagons, and all these 49ers, you know, a lot of them did walk overland 1,000 miles, whatever it was, 2,000 miles to get from Independence, Missouri was the last town in the United States as you went west. That was one way to get here. Or you could take a steamship all the way down the coast from New York City, all the way down the coast of South America and around the Cape and back up, which that took like 5 months. There was no easy way to get out here back then. And so being out here really felt like you were on another planet. This is a good view here because we can't see any signs of human development. It's just pristine nature. And this is what it all would have looked like back then. Absolutely beautiful, but very, very desolate and kind of lonely and completely devoid of women. So all these dudes who came out here trying to get rich, well, they were lonely. They missed female companionship. And so yes, these women who came out here to be prostitutes probably made a pretty penny. They cleaned up. But not even just prostitutes, you know, also there were saloon girls who just hung out and, you know, got you to buy them drinks just because guys wanted to be around the presence of a woman. Now, I know that might sound crazy to those of you who are married and probably can't wait to get away from the old bag for just a few days. You know, that's why you go hunting, fishing, just to get away. But back then, guys actually missed women. And they were so desperate for the company of women that I was reading, when women did start coming out here, you know, some guys would send for their wives after a while once they got established, built a little cabin. Well, they'd send for the wife, send for the kids. And so their women started trickling in. And man, these miners, they would pay anything just to buy like a homemade apple pie. Supposedly there was this one woman who baked pies and sold them. And these guys would buy them off her, and she made more money doing that than her husband did gold mining. But basically my point in telling that story is, eventually there were women out here, and I'm sure at least a few of them cozied up to John Sutter and Joyzy Jim Marshall. You know what I mean? The guys who discovered gold. Boy, I bet they had more poontang than you could, well, than you could pan for. Talk about striking gold. Anyway, I'll be honest, it's real hot and there's not much to see here. You know, the park's basically closed. Normally when you come up here, there's people walking around in old-timey Western outfits, and there's like an old saloon where you can go get sarsaparilla, and you know, you can go buy saltwater taffy and souvenirs and that kind of stuff. Well, none of that's open, so there's really not much for me to do here aside from the fact that it's so friggin' hot. So I thought, oh, you know, it'd be cool. What if I skinny dipped at the exact spot where gold was discovered in California? You know, talk about California's gold. I'd like to dip my moneymaker into the money-making river. You know, it seems fitting. Unfortunately, though, there was a dad just over there with his little girl and little baby boy. And, you know, say what you will about me. I may be a hussy, but I have some class. You know, I'm not going to skinny dip in front of a family. So I was sitting here trying to kill some time, waiting for them to leave. And so I have cell signal here. I go, okay, let me check my email. So I start looking at email, la la la, I get distracted, and then all of a sudden I felt something nibbling on my toe, and I looked down and it was like a lobster, dude. I guess it was a crawdad. I don't know, I've never actually seen a crawdad in the wild before. Not that big a one. I mean, it was like yay big. It looked like a little mini lobster, and it was chewing on my toenail, and I went wah, and like kicked it away. Unfortunately, before I was able to record it, so now you probably won't believe me that I didn't get on video, but yeah, apparently there's a crawdad, and a pretty big one, right down in those rocks somewhere. That's where he scuttled back into. And so if I do dip my moneymaker into this moneymaker, well, I run the risk of getting it bitten by a crawdad. Should I do it anyway? Oh hell, why not? Step aside, crawdads. I'm coming in. Whew, God, this feels good. Oh. But yikes, I guarantee these rocks are infested with crawdads. Let me go this way. They're probably all infested. They're probably lurking under the bank there, all over the place. Who knows what's in here? Probably rattlesnakes too. You know, it's not all fun and games here at Sutter's Mill. Okay, I'm going in. Oh my God, that feels good. I'm doing it. I'm skinny dipping at the gold discovery site, bathing my moneymaker in the waters of California's most notorious moneymaker. How fitting and how pleasant. Oh my God, this feels so amazing. I feel like I could sit here for at least an hour and drink at least a ranch water or 3, but unfortunately, well, I'm afraid I'm gonna get bit on the ass by a crawdad. And I'm afraid someone's gonna come down that trail because the park is still open for another 45 minutes. Ah! Oh, these rocks are slippery. All right, I better get out and get dressed. Okay, well, I guess I'd better start making my way back to my car. I'm not gonna lie, I've been standing here for about 15 minutes trying to see another one of those crawdads so I can film it, and you'll believe me how big it was. As it is, the only footage I have is of one running away, so maybe if I slow that down, you'll see what I was talking about, and you'll understand why I was so hesitant. Oh, I just saw another one, but it's crawled under a rock. Why I was so hesitant to put my ass in this river, but I did, and I'm glad I did, not least because I feel 100 times better right now. I don't just feel better because I'm cooled down. I feel historical. You know, I feel like, you know how people get their kids' baby shoes bronzed. Well, I feel like I just had my ass gilded. Talk about gilding the lily. But before I leave this beautiful and astonishingly peaceful yet crawdad-ridden little beach, let's take one more look at the water at the exact site where gold was discovered. See that, guys? You feel that? That nice, cool sand. Well, imagine you're digging through it like this and there's flakes of gold. Wouldn't that be something? Here, I'll give everyone watching this video a benediction. I'm gonna sprinkle some holy gold water on your face, so get ready. I just want to thank all of you for watching my videos. Thank all of you for your kind birthday wishes. I just had a birthday. Thank all of you for your kind support over the years. Here's a little bit of gold water from the North Fork of the American River for you. Doesn't that feel good? Now I want all of you to go out and have an amazing day. Okay, maybe you're watching this video in the evening. Well, I want you to go have an amazing night's sleep and have the best dreams you've ever had. And then I want you to get up tomorrow morning and have an amazing day. In the name of John Sutter, Joyzy Jim Marshall, and Wonderhussy. Amen. Okay, enough farting around. I'd better make my way back to my car because they say they lock the gate at 6 o'clock. And I think it's like 5:50. No kidding. Boy, wouldn't that be embarrassing to be locked in the Gold Discovery Park overnight? Well, actually, it wouldn't be embarrassing. It'd be fun. I actually have plenty of food and water with me. I have plenty of camping supplies to sleep. Once the friggin' gate closes, I could just go grab a few ranch waters and hang out down here and watch the sunset. Oh, doesn't sound so bad at all. But I don't know, I might get some kind of ticket or they might try to impound my car or something stupid like that. So let me just finish this trail and get back to the car. I guess this is a replica of Sutter's Mill. This is what the mill would have looked like. Oh my God, there's a tiny kitten hanging out here. Get out of town. Hey, little baby. Wow, look. Hi, little kitty. A little baby kitten living here at Sutter's fake mill. Boy, I guess I wasn't the only in that river. Sorry to be crass, I had to do it. Oh yeah, that little kitty just disappeared into the brush here. He must live somewhere down here in these bushes at Sutter's Mill. Oh, there he is. Hi, little kitty. Oh my God, he is precious. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see him. Hi, little baby. Oh, look at his little face. How'd you get here? Where's your mama? Poor little thing is just staring at me. I don't know what it's doing here. It doesn't look like super scrawny, so I guess it's probably living a fine life, feasting on crawdads every night. Oh, look at it. Okay, little kitty, I'm not gonna mess with you. I gotta go get my car before they lock me in here overnight. Poor thing's like, please, lady, leave me alone. I don't know, I mean, there are houses here. People do live in this park, so maybe it's just somebody's indoor-outdoor cat. Anyway, yeah, this is it. This is a replica of what Sutter's Mill would have looked like. The whole reason these guys were out here in the first place, they were trying to build Sutter's Fort. They needed wood, so they were up here working on a mill so they could get that wood. And all of that led to perhaps the greatest discovery in California history. That is, until the day that I discovered alcohol. No, just kidding. Okay, I gotta get out of here, man. I'm serious. I have like 5 minutes. The gate hasn't been locked yet, but you never know with these people. But I will say, I do feel like I got my $10 worth. I know it was kind of rushed, and I'm sorry, I didn't have time to really do my research here and really go into detail explaining everything, but I don't know, I feel like you probably got the idea of what it's like to be here. And oh my God, it's absolutely beautiful right now. Now that the sun has gone down, the sun has gone down behind that ridge. The temperature has dropped considerably. It's very pleasant right now. It smells really sweet. I don't know what these golden grasses are, but they have kind of a sweet smell to them. And these oak trees, everything is super peaceful. It really wouldn't be that bad to be stuck here overnight. But I don't have to worry about that because I can see my car and I can see the gate is still open, so I made it just in time to get in my rig and travel on to my next destination. Stay tuned.